When I came to Stanford in September of 1969, I had never been west of the Delaware River. I still remember my first trip here. I rented a car, San Francisco Airport, drove down the Bayshore Freeway, came down University Avenue to Palm Drive. At Palm Drive, I pulled over between the palms. You could do that then because there isn't a concrete barrier that is there now. I got out of the car and I took it all in. The quad, the church, the mountains in the back. After about half an hour, I picked my jaw off the ground and entered Stanford. And I have to tell you that sense of wonder about this place has never left me. I invariably make it a point to pass by Stanford when I visit the Bay Area, which is rather often. I remember Stanford with the fondest memories. It was here that I did it with my wife 32 years ago. I remember Stanford well. That someone at Stanford should remember me and bestow on me an award and ask me to share my experience with you is frankly humbling. I only wish I could find the words to truly express my gratitude for the pride and joy that I now feel. It has been 31 years since I graduated from the business school, and in that time I have accumulated some experiences that I'd like to share with you. I approached this task with some trepidation for two reasons. First, the person given the advice should be someone of great wisdom who has evidenced that wisdom repeatedly by consistently making few mistakes. I fall way short of that standard, as you will come to realize shortly. Second reason is that I'm well aware of the limitations of sharing personal anecdotes in trying to convey advice. I'm reminded of a saying, education writes, but experience engraves. With those two limitations in mind, there are some observations that I want to share with you. In doing so, I will take you down the path from my years at Stanford to the person I am today. No, I don't mean having left as a short, skinny guy and coming back as a short, fat guy. That we'll leave that aside. But seriously, the main topic that I want to share with you is the correct criterion for making professional and corporate decisions. Many of you have job offers that you have already decided upon. Others will be making those choices next year. I can remember what my key criterion was when I was in your shoes. I had gone through many a lean year, and income maximization was a very important goal. A big paycheck loomed as the most important thing. Mercifully, I had 3 offers, and all of them were very close to each other, so current income maximization did not play a role. Regardless of the rationale, at this stage in your career, income maximization should not be an important goal, and arguably, current income maximization should never be the key goal. Let's talk about a second criterion, which is extensively discussed in business school, wealth maximization. Maximizing shareholder wealth is a key objective of any corporation. It is also an objective shared by many of us individually. Achieving it is another matter because of the random nature of life and our highly imperfect knowledge of the future. Even if wealth maximization is your long-term goal, it doesn't offer a ready test criterion with which to choose between long-term alternatives. To assess the randomness of a career or of a business decision is a task of gigantic complexity. Very soon you will come to the conclusion that determining the wealth maximizing path is a very difficult task. It is chancy, and that's the key word, chancy. If life were deterministic, we would all have dynamic programs in our Palm Pilot, and we will all be making optimal decisions independent of each other's decisions. That is not real life. You must incorporate the randomness of life into your decision-making process and capture its movements. When it comes to strategic decision of choosing a job, current income maximization is a wrong goal. Don't let compensation be your primary determinant ever. It is a wrong criterion. When it comes to strategic decisions, don't present value long-term terminal wealth. You don't know the cash flows, and even more importantly, you are missing the option values of events that you know nothing about and that can and probably will radically change what you expected from what actually will happen. In choosing between two paths, try to determine which path gives you more freedom, which path gives you more experience, which path exposes you to change. Change has accelerated almost continuously since I graduated. The business world is evolving at a faster rate than ever. The value of having options has never been higher. That is true for Guzman and Company, and it's true for each one of you. The way you monetize the randomness of life is to maximize your options. The long-term payoff of any of those options could far exceed the short-term impact of a big salary right out of school. Be very aware in every strategic decisions whether you are the recipient of options or the issuer of options. When you commit yourself to an activity that does not broaden your knowledge of people and ideas, you're giving up an option, and you should be very careful about doing that. I said before that the Stanford MBA is a very powerful tool. Let me define what kind of tool it is. It is an option maker. An option maker. Your task in the next few years is to maximize the value of the options that it gives you. I'm not talking about the diploma or the recognition that it brings or the contacts that you have made. I am principally talking about the knowledge that you have acquired. It will create options for you even when your own decisions or life itself may have narrowed your choices. Let me give you an example from my experience where I had to forego a much surer path for the sake of gaining options. Coming out of Stanford, I went to work for a commercial bank in New York City. Pretty soon I realized that a commercial bank in the early 70s was not a very nice place to be. By then, however, my options had narrowed. Even though it was only 2 years after graduation, I no longer had the same career choices that I had right out of Stanford. As random events would have it, I was assigned to the petroleum division of the bank just in time for the energy crisis to happen. Energy financing became hot in Wall Street, and 4 years out of Stanford, I went to work in M&A at Lazard Frères. I was now in a hot industry in a historically hot firm. I was there 4 years, becoming ever more technically competent in a very narrow field. Then I went and spent 2 more years at another firm in a similar position. At the end, I decided that the career path I was following was not the direction that I wanted my life to go. I accepted the position from one of my clients of Chief Investment Officer of an investment company in Kuwait. I jumped off a career path that, while financially rewarding, I found personally unsatisfying. Instead, I chose a path that would provide me with some of the options that I felt I had lost along the way. In Kuwait, I was in charge of a worldwide portfolio that included real estate in New York and Paris, a bond portfolio, and direct investments in financial services firms, including the then privately held Smith Barney and a number of auction and risk arbitrage firms. But just as important as the broader responsibilities was the opportunity to retool myself and, in essence, reinvent my career. I invested a great deal of time catching up with what happened in finance since I had graduated. As it turned out, a lot had happened in the 70s. Options, derivatives, spreadsheets, personal computers, etc. I had the first IBM PC in Kuwait. I had the first Lotus 123 among the investment companies. This really dates me. I mean, I realize that this is 15 years after, and I learned to program in C. I used it to write option models, fixed income models, of fancy analytics, all kinds of software. What I did in my 3 years in Kuwait was to work hard at reacquiring the broad knowledge basis that in turn gave me options, one of which was founding Guzman and Company. After Kuwait, I was Stanford MBA 71R, R for retrofitted. I must confess that I did not create Guzman and Company because I had a firm idea of what its business was going to be. I had done extensive work in Kuwait about the creation of a broker-dealer in Kuwait to be owned by my employer to serve other Kuwaiti institutions. So when I left, I had the mechanics of setting up a broker-dealer, but I did not have the guiding strategy as to what to do with it. For the first 4 years, Guzman and Company survived on opportunistic thinking, market making in technology stocks, a bit of M&A, muni financing, whatever revenue came within reach. It was not until 1991 that I identified an opportunity that has become one of our core businesses since then. I identified agency program trading on behalf of index managers and plan sponsors as a major opportunity. It had technical complexity in systems, finance, and regulation, and was an agency business where the clients were concerned that the highly capitalized investment banks would front-run them. This was beautiful. My firm's small size was actually a selling point. Incidentally, in order to provide program trading services, we had to have access to the SuperDot system of the New York Stock Exchange, and in order to do that, we had to become members. In the process, we became the first Hispanic-owned firm to become a member of the New York Stock Exchange. Thus far, we continue as the only one, but if I had to bet where the second or third might be, I would say that this room should be the first place to look. The program trading business was a very important decision for us. It has not only provided a steady business base, but it has produced a number of offshoots and derivative ideas. I don't mean derivatives, I mean derived. Guzman and Company is primarily an institutional brokerage firm. That is the functional description. But what is Guzman and Company from my perspective? How do I envision day-to-day what we do and in what direction we go and how we allocate our resources? We have businesses that are steady revenue producers. And I use the word steady it's a term of art in the securities business. It's not synonymous with stable, but it's steady. These businesses cover overhead and then some. Then we also have a number of spin-offs or offshoot products and services that are my business options. Not all ideas prove successful. You always have to temper optimism and pride of authorship with a realistic assessment and a budget. The important thing is that we never bet the farm, no pun intended. Bear in mind that our marginal cost of launching this initiative is a small fraction of what it would cost a newcomer. We have the infrastructure in place to perform various financial services, so Guzman and Company is able to build cheaply options that may have value one day. Our firm today faces huge challenges. Financial services business, and in particular the institutional brokerage sector, is undergoing the most rapid change in its history. Again and again, we're told that critical mass will be the deciding factor. Critical mass was not the deciding factor 60 million years ago, and I don't believe it's the deciding factor today. Agility and the ability to create your own options has always been the deciding factor. Before closing, let me touch for a minute or two on a word that is very close to options, and that is opportunity. Without opportunity, particularly the first opportunity, options become severely limited. I don't want to pass up the chance to talk to this audience about opportunities for Hispanics in Wall Street. In the last 30 years, and particularly in the last 10, there have been major advances for minorities with regards to economic participation. However, I would be disingenuous if I told you that Hispanic economic advancement in the financial services business has kept pace with the overall progress that minorities have achieved. Major investment banks and financial institutions boast of their minority hiring efforts, but frankly, and as one that deals with those firms daily and who has first-hand knowledge, Hispanic employees are few and far between at all levels. As a firm, we partner with various Hispanic organizations to identify and document corporate best practices in the areas of philanthropy, procurement, employment, and governance. Two organizations with which we have had long-standing relationship are ACER, Hispanic Association for Corporate Responsibility, and LULAC, which is the largest and oldest membership Hispanic grassroots organization in the U.S. We support these organizations financially in addition to sitting on their advisory boards. Through our initiatives, we hope to encourage the recruiting and promoting of Hispanics in corporate America. Much more needs to be done. The good news is that Hispanic leadership is aware of the shortfall, and more groups are joining the effort. Let each of us continue to work hard towards providing opportunity for all. As I said before, you are very wealthy indeed. You have the right tool, Stanford MBA, the right environment, an environment of rapid change. Maximize your options. Be out there. Expose yourself to change. Be ready for it. You have a lifetime in which to achieve great things, and you have already accomplished a big one, or are about to accomplish a big one. Congratulations, and thank you again for this award.